Hey, what's going on with you, Joseph?
Thank you so much for joining us, man. Such a pleasure to meet you. An honor.
Same here, bro. Same here.
You are doing some incredible work, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, we trying to out here, man. It's a struggle, but we doing what we could do on our end.
Phenomenal job. You're tackling one of the biggest problems in America. My hat goes off to you. How about this? We'll go over how somebody from East Spencer, Oklahoma, winds up in LA fighting one of the biggest problems in America today, gun violence. We'll talk about the documentary, your book, Last Man Standing, your collaboration with Ice-T, if that's cool. Just so much interesting stuff, and hopefully it all comes out in the interview. Is that good with you?
Whatever you want to do,
Cool.
I'm here with you.
Awesome.
But this film that we put together, this documentary, it reflects on South Central Los Angeles and a lot of the issues and things that we've been dealing with out here that doesn't touch the media. It's a lot of homicides and stuff of young individuals and even older people. We don't even make the news no more. And I know Chicago had the same problem, but this ain't no new ground for us. So this film itself is South Central Los Angeles stamp of saying this is what's going on out here in South Central Los Angeles. This is what we're doing about trying to solve some of the problems. But that's basically it, is just trying to save lives.
We'll get started. What's the official title of the documentary?
It's called Put the Guns Down, A World Epidemic.
And your book was titled Last Man Standing, correct?
Last Man Standing.
That's a,
And I basically encourage Joe Biden, his wife Jill, President Trump, Obama, Kamala Harris, everybody. They really need to see this film because we could set up in the White House and bring people in and talk about a lot of issues and things like that. But most of these people ain't even in the street. They really kind of out of touch with what's going on out here until they go to the gas station and this type of issue run up on your kid or you, and this is what's taking place because they feel like, hey, this would have never happened in my neighborhood, but it's everywhere now.
We'll get going, and I appreciate you, Terry.
Okay.
Here we go. Terry C. Carney Sr., welcome to the show.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, Joe.
Terry, it's an honor to have you on. For our listeners who may not be familiar with you and your work, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Terry C. Carney Sr. I grew up in a town called East Spencer, Oklahoma City. I went back and forth from East Spencer to Los Angeles. So I got a lot of ties out here in South Central Los Angeles as well.
Terry, I want to get into how someone born in East Spencer, Oklahoma, winds up working in South Central Los Angeles with gangs and working on one of the toughest and hardest problems and most important problems facing our country today, the gun violence, especially with our youth. I'd love to get into your book, Last Man Standing, and to speak about your new documentary, Put the Guns Down, A World Epidemic, and also to how someone can be shot 5 times, live to tell about it, and your collaboration, what you're doing with Ice-T. You're doing such amazing work. Hey, before we get into all of that, I'd like to start back all the way from the beginning. Tell us about East Spencer, Oklahoma, growing up there. What was that like?
East Spencer, Oklahoma City is just like any other urban community. Honestly, it's the same old thing that goes on in every community, whether I'm in East Spencer, Oklahoma, Detroit, Chicago, South Central Los Angeles. It's the same thing. It's poverty-stricken people that, you got to do whatever you got to do to grow up. And you're a part of the community and the environment. So it's the same song over and over worldwide. You know what I'm saying? So we had our challenges. I went back and forth from East Spencer, Oklahoma City to South Central Los Angeles, back and forth because I had relatives that was all over South Central Los Angeles. Pretty much every summer I'm in Los Angeles, but it's the same old song no matter what you do.
Between 10 and 12 years old, a very, very formative time in people's lives. And the dinner table, when someone sits down, has a meal at the end of the night or in the morning, whoever's at that table, so their core unit at that time. If you could think back to 10, 12 years old, if you're having a dinner or lunch or breakfast with people you're living with, what's the family dynamic look like? What the dinner time look like for you?
The tricky question right there. Now, I'm going to say this. I had a mother and father that instilled nothing but positive values in my lifestyle, right?
Mhm.
But I also had brothers that was off into street activity. So my mom and dad was dealing with some very serious issues. So they had to move away from the home
Mhm.
when I was like 10 years old. So I was left with five of my brothers, which these guys was notorious out on the streets. So while I sat at home watching cartoons or eating at that dinner table that you speak of, I would watch some of my cousins and other people from the community shooting up with heroin.
Wow.
You know, watching them argue who's getting the most heroin, and they would literally chase each other around that dinner table fighting over the needle because one was thinking that they was getting more heroin than the other.
Wow. When you see that, is that something you run towards? That life entices me, or you're like, wow, I got to get out of here. This is something I don't want to be part of. What goes through a 10-year-old's mind when you see something like that?
Well, see, this is what's so crazy is that a lot of people don't know I was very, very gifted in sports, football, baseball, basketball, ran track, did martial arts,
Mhm.
wrestle. I was very gifted. All sports came super easy to me. So I was trying to, with some of the guys that was trying to have little league teams and stuff like that, they knew a lot of us young people's situation that was growing up in the community,
Mhm.
and they would put us on their teams and stuff, and I would be outstanding on everything. And I always looked at my brothers and them and basically said to myself, I'm not going to allow myself to be like that. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So I learned, it was educational, but just like you go through the communities, and it really doesn't matter what state you from. If you're being raised in an urban area, these are the type of things you see. You see homicides, you see robberies, you
Mhm.
meet, and a lot of the stuff that goes on in these communities is these guys' professions. People that would come over to my house and be there with my brothers now. You have professional car thieves that that's their job. That's their 9 to 5 is going out stealing cars. You have
Mhm.
professional safe crackers that goes out and they rob safes and banks and stuff. You have the best of everything in the streets and in these urban areas. Everybody knows everybody, so everybody stay in their lane, and
Mhm.
that's just the way it was.
Wow. Take us to like maybe the high school age, around 18 years old. If they asked the 18-year-old version of Terry C. Carney Sr. what he wanted to be when he grew up, what would you have said at 18?
Honestly, I wanted to be Kobe. I wanted to be, which I would have been Kobe before Kobe. I'm much older.
Dr. J, be Dr. J.
Yeah, yeah, Dr. There we go. So yeah, Dr. J was our heroes at that time, So, and I wanted to be a sports kid, but it just seemed like I grew up in a dope house, and it was no reflection of my mom and dad. They had absolutely no idea what was going on. They would work 2 or 3 jobs. They own a few houses, and they say, "Okay, you boys are going to live there." But they had some issues and things that they was trying to work on and straighten out. But it just shows you, for all the boys and girls out there, just keep, and moms and dads, keep in mind, work, 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 and not spending enough time with your kids to find out what's really going on. They get caught up into activities that you really don't want them to get involved into. So my brothers and them turned one of my mom and dad's house into a full-fledged dope house, narcotic house, We had drugs in the walls, the ceilings, from cocaine to PCP, you name it. Marijuana, we had it back in them days. That's, believe it or not, that's kind of normal for a lot of people that's growing up in a lot of urban communities.
At this point in time, is this where you're living in LA? Is this South Central you're living
Yeah,
at the time?
yeah,
Okay.
I live in Los Angeles.
Wow. And then you mentioned about where you're working 3 jobs and your mom and dad are working really hard, but they don't know what's going on. And there's an author I follow, his name's Ryan Holiday. One thing he writes is, how do you spell love? It's Time. Got to spell, got to spend time. You know what I mean? Where it's like you're working and providing. That's awesome. That is definitely part of the equation to make sure the lights are on, the water's flowing, and there's food on the table. But there's another part is you got to be involved in your kids' lives and what are they doing after school? Who are their best friends? What interests and hobbies they have? That's so true, and it's so hard to do because if you have a bunch of, how many brothers and sisters did you have?
13.
Oh my gosh. So like, I mean, they need some serious money to put food on the table, keep out all
Yeah,
that going, right? And then like you
yeah,
spend so
yeah.
much time to do that, that leaves very little time for leisure time and getting to know what your kids are doing and hanging out with them. And that's rough. That's a rough go, man. How about this? Is there a point where you were full-fledged on the streets, part of that environment where you're like, you know what, you were on maybe the other side of the fence where you're on now? Was there a point where you were on the streets and maybe you were a kid that if you met today, you'd try to save and work with?
Well, see, my story is a bit different from some of the other kids. Some of the other kids, they really, really was living in poverty, serious poverty. A lot of them was homeless. We talking 12, 13-year-old kids that was literally homeless, and they just trying to find a way. But see, my brothers, they was predominant. I mean, just they had things going on. So I had a car at 15. I had the best clothes. I had money in my pocket. Then I eventually ended up with one of my mother's other houses that was given to me at 13, 14 years old. So you talking about a 13, 14-year-old kid that has his own house, he has his own car, he got the flyest clothes and jewelry and stuff like that. And he got his own house. So, a lot of the homeboys in the streets that I ran with that didn't have so much, they would be around me all the time. So I gave them the love that I saw that they wasn't receiving. But this is a thing. They say, wow, so 15-year-old kid doing this and that and whoop-de-woo. But uh, you know, it's like this. What I only did what a 15-year-old would think and do at that time, right? Because you really don't, we wasn't wise as we are now back then. Oh, I could have did this, I could have did that, So that was me.
Wow.
But I still tried to feed the community the best way I could with those that wasn't so fortunate around me at the time.
And doing some research on you, I understand a very influential figure in your life, Dr. Joseph Jennings from La Jolla.
Yes.
Can you tell the story how he influenced your life? I heard at one point you tell a story where he actually heard he took a contract out on your life, but it wasn't really the kind of contract you thought. Can you speak of that?
Wow. Yeah, this is crazy. Yeah. Well, I was making noise down in East Spencer, Oklahoma City. We call it the Dungy area. It was a lot of murders going on all over Oklahoma City through the downtown area. It was a war zone. And I remember the time myself and this other guy from the South Side, his name was Wimpy. So Larry Jones, Feed the Children, Kenneth Copeland, all of them was trying to get involved with what was going on to try to bring some peace to the community. So I was the leader from the Black side, and Wimpy was the leader from the Mexican side. So they brought us together and they flew this man named Joseph Jennings in. He been shot 13 times, still had 3 bullets lodged in close to his heart. I mean, this dude here, he shot his brother up like 16 times and stuff. He was a rough dude, but he was a loving guy. So he they had this convention, and he saw me, and he was like, he just kept staring at me. And from what the way we was taught on the streets, you don't stare at nobody like that. You know what I'm saying? So me and my team walked over to him and was like, man, why you keep staring at me, man? You know what I'm saying? We trying to check him up, see what's cracking, right? And he just look at me in my eyes, and he told me, he say, brother, I love you. And I'm like, fool, you better back up. You know what I'm saying? And this is just me. I'm just keeping it 100, right? You better raise up off me. You know what I'm saying? Because, you about ready to get tossed up like a salad, right? So I got like 30 dudes with me, right? And these dudes here, they don't talk. They just do action, right? Action pack. That's what they do. They the pack rats. So he say, brother, I need to talk to you. And he say, I love you. He said, I'm putting a contract on you right now in the name of Jesus that you're going to do great things in your life. And I'm going to stay on top of you. And I'm looking at this dude like, dude, well, you better go on with that stuff. You know what I mean? You better back up off me, So, man, and that was the first time I met him. And
Wow.
no, I don't know how this guy did this, but wherever I would go, this dude would find out where I'm at. This is how crazy it was. I would go to Chicago. He'll find out I'm in Chicago. I'll go to Detroit. He'll find out I'm in Detroit. I come to LA. He find out I'm in LA. And wherever I'm at, this dude would send me a check for like $5,000. It'll be in the mail, and he would just write on the envelope, I love you, brother, and I'm praying for you. No matter where I went. If I was in Miami, $5,000. Now we talking about a young kid. He would put money in an envelope like that. I ended up out in Los Angeles, and I kept getting these envelopes, and he start coming out, visiting me, checking up on me, staying on top of me. He became my godfather, basically.
Wow.
And, I'm like, man, this dude here, he really cared, on the inside, but, you can't let that out and let nobody know. You know what I'm saying? So, man, this dude, he was so inspirational in my life that then he started sending me plane tickets to go wherever he was at. I go to Miami. They have a house for me, 3-bedroom, 3-bath house for me with the keys, gated community. Whenever I go to Miami, the keys will be under the mat. My own house. It didn't matter where I was at, whether I was there in Atlanta, New York, wherever. They always gave me my own spot, and I'll go down and stay for 2 or 3 weeks. And he was grooming me because he had his operations of where he had a nonprofit, and he wanted me to move to Atlanta and run his operations. We was in negotiation with that. He became a strong father figure in my life. And we talking about 18, 19, 20 years old. Wow. I'm flying around like a dope dealer and picking up ridiculous money. You know what I mean? But it's legitimate money. Then we started going to like schools, elementary schools, and he started making me minister to the kids, telling the kids my story, my wow. background history and things like that. And, kids is crying and stuff. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, hey, man, this kid's crying over here on some things I'm telling him. He's like, back then, you can't do this today, but he's like, T, put your arms around them, put your arms around them, let them know that you care about them too, which, it made sense because once I did that, they really embraced me so we can find out what the root of the problem was with the kids and stuff. And some of the kids, man, they hit me with stories that just blew my mind. So I know this is God working me, yeah. preparing me for all the things I'm doing now.
Wow. What do you think Dr. Jennings saw in you initially to put that type of effort into you? What do you think he saw?
He saw himself because if you Google him before that's a whole nother movie right there. But we're going through right now. They uh he had just bought this big house down in Atlanta, 10 acres, everything. He was in the process of buying me the house right next door to it. I think he said like 450,000, whatever. He's just paying cash for everything. But him and his wife had some issues and problems, but the police is trying to say that he took AK-47 and blew his brains out. So we still trying to I don't believe that. I don't believe that one bit. That's not Joseph. Something else went on, but who am I to say what? You know, that'll be revealed in time. So that's going to be a movie, I'm sure, that's going to come out because Joseph, if his history, man, you talking about gangsterism, he was that dude back in the day. Back when he was 18 years old, he bought his first house and Rolls Royce in La Jolla, paid cash for it.
My gosh, crazy.
Yeah.
A remarkable story. Thank you for sharing that. So let's get to gun violence in America today, the epidemic. Root of the problem. If you had to define the core issue, what are we dealing with the gun problem today in America?
Well, it's so much, but I'm gonna say right now, one thing is mental health. Mental health is the problem. It's not the gun. I played journalist in this film. What I tried to do is try to get information from both sides, from people that lost loved ones and from the other side of the families that took lives. That's going to be part of the series. So, because we all have to come together as America and we have to sit down and talk about this. We can't sweep this under the rug with a lot of real issues, a lot of things that's going on. We can't blame, this is my personal opinion, we can't blame nothing on the NRA. We can't blame nothing on the system. We have to blame us as parents because everybody that's out here doing murders and stuff is parenting. A lot of us in some of the other polished areas, you know, we buy our kids a lot of these games. You know what I'm saying? We're not realizing what they in the room playing. You look at little Tommy. Little Tommy's 4 or 5 years old, but we just pushed him in his bedroom because I've been working for 16 hours, but little Tommy screamed and hollered for this video game.
Mhm.
So I said, if you be good, just like a McDonald's Happy Meal, I'll buy you that game and you can go play it, little Tommy. So now it's Saturday morning before lunchtime, little Tommy then kills over 100 people.
Yep.
On that video game. And then now you feeding him lunch and then you push him back into his bedroom. Mm-hmm. Little Tommy then killed another 200 before dinner time. Mm-hmm. I'm not knocking the game industry, but I'm just speaking as these are things that we got to think about, right? Mm-hmm. We got to think about, and in this documentary, which the documentary speaks for itself, because it's not just about putting down the guns. It's about helping with mental health. It's about paying attention to your kids, just like myself. I come from a great mother and father that worked their butts off, but they didn't have that time, just like you said. Mm-hmm. Time is everything with your kids because you need to be able to groom their minds into knowing I should never take someone's life. Because see, the main thing with taking somebody's life, a lot of these young kids, they don't realize once you pull that trigger, your mm-hmm. life changes once that trigger is pulled. Mm-hmm. It changes on both ends of the pistol. It changes that person you just shot. He either gonna die or he's gonna live. But if he die, your life just changed just as well because now you arrested, you're in a penitentiary, you can't carry that gun where you're inside that penitentiary, and you're going to find out that you're going to be dealing with a whole lot of other type of scenario of guerrillas that you're not accustomed to. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have to deal with them for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. We show all this in the film. This film, look, this documentary film is South Central Los Angeles stamp on what our solutions are, what we're doing in the community, and how we saving lives from mental health, gangs, street gangs, drugs, alcohol, music, everything. And I'm telling you right now, the problem with a lot of family members and moms and dads, they too far out of touch with their kids. They really don't understand none of this stuff until it actually challenged them in their lives. And I challenge Joe Biden, I challenge Jill Biden, I challenge Obama, I challenge Donald Trump. I challenge everybody to watch this film and listen to what this film is trying to educate you and tell you what's going on in South Central. And this is just South Central's version. But in this series, we're going to hit every state and show you what's going on in every state. So it's educational, but you can't sit in these offices and things of that nature and say, oh, I understand about gun violence and this and that. We preparing to do a private screening at the White House, and they have this is, they have this little kid who is like 8 years old, but he's singing, dancing, happy. And I understand you want to promote him and promote his career into doing what he do, but you got to understand, when my kid have been murdered, my family have changed drastically. Or if my son murdered somebody, my family have changed drastically. There is no happy moment for nobody. The whole community loses. So we need serious individuals and people that really know this stuff to educate us on how to target and know what our kid is dealing with, what he's going through. How can I go in here and handle this situation so that he don't get out here and kill somebody or get killed? Because either he's going to get killed or he's going to end up being the killer. And that's what's happening with a lot of our young kids. And there is no race, no nationality, no nothing on this gun violence and mental health type of situation. You stop your kid or you stop at that gas station, all it takes is a split second and your life can change at that gas pump. That's how serious it is out here.
So true. You mentioned family and mental health. Touching on mental health first. How much do you think the COVID pandemic, the lockdown, people in their houses, how much do you think that plays into the mental health situation now that you're dealing with?
You know what's crazy? What the COVID thing did, it helped us to understand that all of us are dealing with mental health issues and things, because we, including our family members, because we had to actually stay in our houses and kind of learn who our family members was, that we had no clue who they were.
Who are they? Who are these people? Yeah, it's so
I got to get out of here, right?
Let's get out of here. If I was running, like, I'm out.
Hey,
like, what is this chaos?
Statistically, they said the most divorces happened during the COVID time. Yeah. Because nobody knew who they was married to.
Wow, is this what's going on here?
She's mental. He's mental.
Crazy, or I'm crazy, or we're both crazy. Why are we here? Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's like till death do us part, but not lunch every day. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then that's so funny. Getting back to the family, you mentioned family. How much does the breakdown of the American family play into this? Where if you have like that traditional, no matter what race you are, you close your eyes, you have a strong, let's just say you have a father figure, you have a motherly figure, right? And you have like, they each have their own role. That is so different than if you're raised by your grandparents, like you said, that don't even know, can't even relate. They're 40 years older and they have no idea what you're doing. How much does that play into what's going on today with the gun epidemic?
Honestly, that bridge right there that you're talking about, it's major. It's just so major, because even if you're dealing with your kid on a daily, right?
Mhm.
You as a parent, a father, a mother, just a mother and father. We ain't even gonna go to the grandma situation side of things, but
Yep.
just the mother and father.
Yep.
Okay, me and my wife, we go to restaurants and stuff, and we'll sit there and we'll look around, and we like to see how the families interact with each other.
Mhm.
Do you know almost every table in that restaurant, the kids is on their cell phones,
Yeah.
and there is no. So how do you know what to answer your question? You don't even know your own kids, and you
Mhm.
there with them on a daily.
Yeah.
So that's how sad it is.
Yep.
You know, we got to go back to the old school. When it's time for dinner time with your kids, your family, you got to say, okay, all cell phones, all instruments have to go to the sideline. Now we need to sit down, and
Mhm.
this is the problem. As a family, we need to sit down, and I need to find out what's going on in little Johnny's mind.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Because
100%.
Little Johnny and Sarah is dealing with issues at school and everything else that you have no idea, and nobody at home asks them that question anymore.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It's
Yep.
sad, but it's just little things that we're not doing as a family. But we saying, "Oh, I'm taking care of my family." Well, you are paying bills. You are that. It's more to it than being a dad or a mom than just paying bills.
Mhm.
That's why we having this mental problem situation out here, mental health.
Yeah.
And then you know, I walk the streets of South Central, and you got, man, we have grandmas and grandpas laid out on the side of the street. How can you walk down the street and let your grandma or your dad or your mom be left out there on the side of the street?
Yep.
Are we that disconnected with family lifestyle? See, we all guilty of it. We all guilty of it.
Yeah.
But see, it's that serious. So to answer your question again, we got to start off small. We got to start off in everybody's household with whoever that is, mom, dad. We got to start off small, but we got to start talking to our kids. We got to start finding out what's going on in their lives and helping them to get through whatever it is that's putting that peer pressure on them. You know what I mean? Because
So,
peer pressure, that pressure is busting pipes, and then before you know it, they done did something that's gonna change their life forever, and you had no idea that it was at that point. And that's what we hear about with these Columbines and this and that. They say, "Oh, he was such a quiet and good kid,"
yeah.
and I don't know. I didn't even have a clue or a sign that he was getting ready to go out there and shoot up 1,000 kids. But the signs was there. We just didn't pay attention to him.
Okay.
We
Okay.
didn't talk to him.
Yeah. You mentioned about to win big, you got to go small. You got to start small. You got to start at the
That,
micro, at the core. Here's a question going to that where to win big, you got to start small. Like with a problem this big and important, like how do you make sure we're fixing the core of the problem, not just treating the symptoms? How do we get to that?
well, number one, we got to start caring.
Mhm.
And the problem with our society, we don't care.
Mhm.
Jail ain't fixing nothing.
Mhm.
Jail is making these kids worse. It's
Yeah.
corrupting them
Yeah.
even further. And we this is the thing. We have to get educated. Just, and I'm gonna go back to this film. You got to get in touch with real education, like a real book of whether you doing cooking school or self help books. You got to get in touch with some people that really can help you to reach your kid if you really care. But see, the
Mhm.
problem is the way we so AI now that we don't care. We so electronic. Love don't mean nothing anymore. Love
Mhm.
is a word that you use in passing. Hey, how you doing? I love you. You know that, right? You
Mhm.
don't even know that person.
Yep.
So you're doing the same thing with your own family, your own kids. You start off small, just like with what you said,
Yep.
and stop letting your kids get on these video games and stop letting them stay in their room playing these video games. Monitor them and find out what they're doing on their off time for real, and start. Now this is a hard one right here, Joe. Mm-hmm. You actually got to sit down and you got to talk to your kid.
Imagine that. Yeah. Damn, that is so. Oh my God, so original. But it goes to that, right? Like how many times it. Instead of saying, "Hey, here's your iPad," or "Here's your phone," or maybe have lunch with them, or sit and talk with them with the TV off, with the phones down, the iPads off, video with the Xbox shut off, and actually, hey, how did today go? What's going on in your mind? How's it going in school? What's got your attention? And like figure out, like, are they struggling with something you have no idea that they're struggling with, right?
Exactly, bro.
Show them you care. Wow. So with the movie, you have a long time relationship with Ice-T, just one of the legends of hip hop. How did first off, way back in the day, how did you and Ice-T come together?
Well, I was introduced to Ice-T by one of my big brothers, because him, Shiny Shine and Ice-T, they way older than me, but they became like a big brother to me because I was young. And we've been together from 35 to 40 years. Wow. You know, they've been my mentor, Shiny Shine and Ice-T. And they kind of like the Joseph Jennings thing. They always looking out, always been right there. Anytime I needed them, they was there for me. We just turned into a family like 40 years ago. And they've been there ever since. I start telling, matter of fact, I was even a part of Rhyme Syndicate Music back, I'm going to say way back in 90, 90, 92. You know, we used to make rap records together and doing the music thing. So I always loved the art of films. I watched a lot of Alfred Hitchcock, and I was amazed with his one camera of shooting films. So I was like, man, I got to study this dude. And then I ended up going to LA Film School and just reading up on things and learning everything that I possibly could. And I graduated from LA Film School. And basically, I started telling Ice about, you know, man, we got to do something for the community. And I'm thinking about putting this film together to try to save some of these young kids' lives, because at the end of the day, everything we're doing, man, we got to be able to help support the hood. And he say, well, say that, T, and I got you back on whatever. So, you know, him and Shiny Shine, they still with me right now, rolling fully with me. And 4 years ago, we started this project. And Nipsey Hussle was with us, but he passed away. He's going to be a part of this project. We lost a lot of people in the film that's been either murdered or they passed away on. And these is a lot of the original OGs from South Central that's actually in this film, which, I mean, the film came out 4 years in the making. It came out unbelievable. Soon to be award winning. I guarantee you, I promise you. I mean, we outdid ourselves with this documentary. And I'm telling everybody, go to all your local theaters, your networks, and demand that you want to see this film come in your city, your town, wherever. This is a film that you must see. I'm telling Jill Biden, I'm telling Joe Biden, I'm telling Donald Trump, you guys need to see this if we're going to straighten out America. We can't worry about all these other countries and this and that and we all screwed up and messed up here. You know, we gotta
such a good point.
Hey, it's almost like going back to COVID, right? Learning who your wife is. We gotta
you just doing some research on the film and the documentary you made. A sad story with Nipsey Hussle. Could you tell that where you were supposed to film with him over the weekend, and what happened?
Yeah, we had it set for that Saturday, and one of my guys got a call on, I think it was like that Wednesday. It was like, hey man, we ain't gonna Nip ain't gonna be able to do that Saturday. And I'm like, what? They say, man, he just got murdered. I'm like, what? Yeah, man, it was just crazy. It was crazy because he was doing so much good out here in the community at the time, and so we try to make sure we keep his name ringing with what we're doing and keep it moving, because his whole concept was us bringing the hood together and uplifting the hood.
So with all the work you're doing, so you have like an OG like Ice-T, right? I mean, legend. And you go with the previous people that maybe 20, 30 years ago were on the other side of the fence. When they go back in the hood now, what do the kids today, when you go talk to them with Ice-T, are they open to say, hey, maybe there's a better way out there, or they laugh at you guys that you're out of touch? Like, how does that work? Is that a fair
Nah,
question?
nah, Joe. And see, that's the thing. That's what's so good about this film that we just done. The OGs that I have in this film,
Yeah.
Ice is an OG. He's legendary. But the OGs that I have in this film, they runs these different communities, whether it's Crips, Bloods, Mexican Mafia. These are the real of the real OGs that started a lot of the stuff out here in LA.
Wow.
And they still run the community out here in LA.
Wow.
So, you have to have meetings with different sets around in order to get a pass to go into a community. They have their meetings. This is how it is out here. I don't know if you ever been to LA. You have to get permission to go here and there. But what I did with this film, these guys would never go on camera that's on this film. These are legendary. I know music-wise, Ice is big, but the guys that I have in this film is the guys.
Okay.
These guys, you can Google the names that's of these guys in the film, and in every state, including out in New York and everything else, you'll see how big these guys are, and all of them got millions of followers worldwide.
Wow.
But they underground.
Okay. Understood.
They more like El Chapo's of
Yeah.
South Central.
Wow. You're doing amazing work. You mentioned Obama and you mentioned Biden and Trump. Like, when you reach out to them, have any of them seen the movie? Any comments from any of them, people that high up in politics?
No, we just finished the editing on it. Matter of fact, I have a little bit more editing tonight that we're working on. But yeah, the White House and the United Nations have contacted us. They want us to give them a private screening. They're trying to set up dates for it. We'll be ready. I should have the final cuts completed by next weekend or in a couple of days. I'm pretty fast worker, so we've been getting a lot of calls from a lot of people. Myself, Craig Noble, and Curtis Blow. Actually, we sat
Yeah.
down last night. We sat down last night.
Those are the
And
breaks, right? That
hey,
song is those.
Curtis. Hey, Curtis Blow said it blew him away. It had his wife crying through majority of the film, and he was like, I say, you the man. He's like, Curtis, like, no, after watching this, you the man. So Curtis loves it. He was like, man, that is amazing how you put this together. And I'm telling you, Joe, you got to see it, bro.
Oh, absolutely. And Curtis Blow, you got me going. You got me back in like the school here. You got basketball. That basketball rap. I love that. Yeah, basketball is my favorite sport.
Yes,
I love the way they dribble up and down the court. I just love it. Oh my God, that is just like, it's an awesome song, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
we have so much talent. I haven't even talked about the other talent. We got Spice One in there. Spice One. We got Chili Chill from the Lynch Mob with Ice Cube. He's in there. Cocaine's in there. Compton's Most Wanted's in there. DJ Quick and his son is in there. We got the West Coast up in here.
So when can you see the movie launch in the theaters? When can you see it happen?
Well, it's a lot of politics involved, and regardless of how soon I have the film finished, the networks have to decide when they're going to release it. Whoever my management team and stuff decide we're going with this network. We got a couple of offers already, and I hadn't even finished it from Peacock.
Yeah.
I believe MGM have been looking at us, Netflix, wanting us to sit down and take meetings with them. So we have to entertain Peacock first because of Law and Order. You know, because they get first dibs at anything that ICE touches. So
Okay, yeah, sure.
but
It's interesting. Wow.
yeah, but they already put an offer on the table for it already. So
Wow.
I'm like, well, ICE, why don't we just see what everybody else have to say before we
That's amazing. You got him behind you, and you got somebody already has dibs on it. Yeah, you want to.
yeah.
That is wild. And can you say there's a possibility it goes out into the theaters, or it's possibly goes right to Netflix, right? I mean, that's what you're trying to figure out, right?
Uh, well, that's State Department. My job
Yeah.
is
Okay.
to finish the editing, do my work, and you know, I done blew them away with the work I done put together. What I was asking ICE, one thing I definitely want to do, I want to finish up these private screenings, like with the White House, the United Nations, before we sign on the dotted line,
Yeah.
because I would a few people to see it before. Because once you sign with the network, they're gonna say no, you can't show it no more.
I got, yeah, sure. Okay, guys, you want to get that out to maybe the White House, stuff like that
Yeah,
before someone has a contract on it and they decide where it goes and doesn't go.
exactly.
And here's one, I mean, this is me. I am so out of the music, the entertainment business, just where my mind goes, like marketing and just trying to connect with the people. This got to go into the middle schools, the high schools, and the colleges,
Oh,
right? You got to get it into
oh,
them, right?
universities,
Okay. No.
everything.
USC, I'm thinking UCLA, like Temple here in Philly.
Man,
You know what I mean? You got to.
we did a private screening. The dean from USC and UCLA, they want us to come right now and do private screenings at both universities. That's already on the table. And so I'm letting management and everybody else work out whatever. And wherever they decide our calendar dates are going to hit, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. And can you look at it like you just want to give kids hope, right? That there's another way, that it doesn't have to be violence. It doesn't have to be day by day survival. There's a point where you could have a great life and live for decades and decades and do whatever you want to do. You don't even have a career in some degree where it doesn't have to be the street, right? Like you want to show them there's a hope, there's a path, there's a possibility of that direction, right?
That's pretty much it. But let's see, it's kids are different now. It's a different world we're living out here in. And it's kids, I'm gonna say younger people from the age of 40 and under, that they have this concept on life that they don't care about life. And what we have to do, we have to try to work on getting them to care about life and understand it's not about taking somebody else's life, because both of you are going to lose at the end of the day. Even with you and myself, we don't have nothing to do with a lot of things, you know, but if you at the wrong place at the wrong time, and there is no safe place anymore.
No,
There is no safe place. So if you tell yourself, oh, I'm safe, or that don't happen around me, you're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself, just like your kid in that other room,
yeah,
and he's murdering people right now on that video game. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And that you raising a killer in your own home and you don't even realize it. That's the
Right.
reason you need to creep to that door and you need to peep in his bedroom and watch what he's playing. Because if not, you're going to be dealing with that situation.
It goes back to that four-letter word, man, time. You say it's
Time.
love, but it's time.
That's it.
You got to spend some time. You got to take the time and you got to invest the time and ask the questions and get involved, right?
Number one. That's it.
How
That
about
is.
so true, so true. Now, thanks for sharing that. How about if someone watches this after someone sees this, right? Someone's thinking about watching this movie. What do you want them to take away from it after they watch this? What do you want them to say? You know what? This is what I learned from this movie.
You know what? That's a very good question, because I'm gonna tell you, Joe, I've watched this movie 100 times already, and you're gonna leave with a different concept every single time. You're gonna get emotional. You're gonna be like, "Wow, this have blown me away," because I got some serious issues and people in this film that survive things. And I can't tell the film, but they have survived, and they're going to show you some of the injuries of what took place. And all I'm gonna say to you, I got a 22-year-old that absolutely have no eyeballs completely.
Wow.
That left for dead, but he survived, and he's going to show you how he have to live the rest of his life. Everybody in this theater, every time I show it, is left in tears.
Wow. Yeah, that's
So
powerful.
and there's not a topic from mental health to gun violence to all this. It's all in the movie. I'm gonna tell you like this: the movie speaks for itself. It's self-explanatory.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to tell you what to look for. I want you to watch it, and you tell me what you learned from it.
Yeah, that's fair enough, man. We spoke about so much, Terry. If you could have everyone listening take just one lesson away from all the topics we just discussed, what would that lesson be?
Spend time with your kids and your family. Find out what's going on in your kids and your wife's mind, because it's a lot of husbands not talking to their wives. It's a lot of wives not talking to their husbands. And just like COVID, once you locked up with that person, you don't know who that person is. But if you was taking that time, you would know, right? Mm-hmm. If you was taking that time with your kids, you would know. We gotta start in our own homes first. Mm-hmm. And then we branch out into the communities, because we don't fix our homes, what's going to happen? It's going to boil up into the streets, and you're going to be dealing with issues. I'm going to be dealing with issues, and so on and so on.
It goes back to when you say you want to win big, you got to go small. If you're in an airplane and like the airbags drop, like if you start putting air masks on everybody else but you, at some point you're going to die and you can't help anyone else. But if you put yours on first, like you said, take care of your own house first, then exactly. you might be able to help 20 people instead of 3 and you die. You know what I mean? Like you might quadruple the people you can help if you took care of your own house, your own country first, right? Like your own backyard.
Exactly.
I got you.
So what would happen to the world if we all start doing that?
Mm-hmm. Completely different. No,
exactly.
I usually end each interview with 2 fun questions. Thought I'd run them by you because you look like you have so much great life experience and just so many great stories. How about, here's a fun one. Terry, if you could spend the day with anyone, alive or dead, famous or not famous, who would you spend the day with?
My mom and dad.
Oh, that's good. Wow. How long has it been since you've seen your mom and dad?
15 years.
Wow. What would you do with them? If you could spend another day with them, what would you do?
I would sit down and talk with them. Just having a conversation with them is a lot for me.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. Last question. Terry C. Carney Sr., if you had to get a quote or a saying tattooed on your body, what would that quote or motto say?
I probably would go with Malcolm X, with if you have nothing in this world worth dying for, then you have nothing in this world worth living for.
If you have nothing in this world worth dying for, you have nothing in this world worth living for. Malcolm X.
Correct.
Woohoo. That is strong. I think that is about as good as a spot as any to wrap this up. The guest is Terry C. Carney Sr. The documentary coming out is Put the Guns Down, a World Epidemic. Terry's book, Last Man Standing, available on Amazon. Terry, if our listeners are looking for you and the documentary and the book online, where can we find you?
You could find us at terryccarneysenior.com. That website is always updated on all our moves and everything we got going on.
I'm going to put all of them in the show notes. I'll have the website. I'm going to link to the documentary and your book on Amazon. But Terry, I'd like to thank you for joining us. It is an honor to speak with you. Thank you for walking us through this such important issue going on in every city in America, affecting so many people. You're doing great work, my man. I wish you, Ice-T, the documentary, rocking success, and I hope it connects with a large audience. Hope you get it to the White House and all the schools, and hope it makes a big difference, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Joe. I love doing your show, and anytime you have me, I'll be back.
Awesome, definitely. Let's keep in touch. I'll have you back, man, and maybe we can do a little update in a couple months, see what happened, and to see what their progress is. Terry, thank you, man. Peace and nothing but much success, man.
Thank you, brother. Peace and one love.
No, thank you, brother.